Good morning, allies. It is Monday. It's Monday, May 27th, 2019. Cheers. This is your Cup of Jones. Full disclosure as we get started, I got hit with a massive allergy attack last night before I went to bed. And I got up this morning and I'm feeling a little bit better. And I'm highly medicated right now. And this is a short episode. I think we'll be able to make it through. But I got a box of Kleenex handy. I'm just letting everybody know. It might get a little sniffly. I will try to mute things if I got to sneeze, but really this community is really great. The business is strong. The other allies, I believe, are doing well. I'm excited about the future. It's really my sinuses that are really one of the biggest hazards in producing a solid episode of Cup of Jones that I feel confident about. Yeah, a little bit out of it, just a little bit. Clean myself up. Yeah, there's only 5 pages of this Cup of Jones, so let's get through this. Easy living. Mark your calendars. Morning Jones mic sounds like it's peaking. Maybe I'm just too close. It's set to this, what it's always set to, so. Mic seems normal to blood. All right. Maybe I just got really excited for a second. Easy living. Mark your calendars. Friday, July 26th to Sunday, July 28th. That will be noon on Friday, July 26th. We'll be going live. Probably for like an hour beforehand, just playing fun music, but actually beginning Easy Livin', beginning our game stream on noon, Friday, July 26th, and then wrapping it up on 2 p.m. Sunday, July 28th. That is a little bit of a change in schedule because we usually do Easy Living the first weekend of August, but this will be the end of July. Shout out to Mike Definitely Sounds Off. All right. Same setting as always been. So sorry if it's just mysteriously off today. Shout out to Don Casanova, who is the ally that had to buckle in terms of canceling plans. There was my impending plans come mid-August that are scheduled for roughly around then, but we are not totally sure. And then it seemed like everybody else had something else going on. And Dawn made the sacrifice. Dawn was like, I do have plans. I have a vacation plan, but I can easily plan it for another weekend. And we were like, no, Dawn, no. And then we did another round of asking everybody what if they could maybe change, and it just seems like Dawn was in the perfect position to make that jump. So we're going to try to see what we can do for Dawn to make it up to him for changing his plans that weekend, because it was funny because we were kind of like, yeah, maybe we'll do Easy Living in like the fall or something. You know, we don't have to do it. And Dawn really cared about Easy Living. He's like, I want Easy Living to happen. I love Easy Living. And so, yeah, we're all looking forward to that. It's nice to have that date. We have a really cool location. It's actually, I don't want to speak too soon, but of all the locations that we've got before for Easy Living, this one, I'm like, that's I think it's not as good as the spot last year. I think we were in a really good geographic location, but we also didn't have air conditioning last year, so the actual venue itself, I think, is the fanciest that we've got so far. So very much looking forward to that. Obviously, E3 is before that. That is our main focus right now. I don't think we're in a position to like pick what games specifically we're going to play for Easy Living, but we know it is going to be at least 50 hours, noon Friday, July 26th to 2 p.m. on Sunday, July 28th. Put it in your calendar. Tomorrow night, we are streaming Sonic Tag Team Racing. Is that what it's called? Is there a beach? There will definitely be a beach cam this time around. Hopefully there will be squirrels in that beach cam. I can't promise squirrels. That's one thing I definitely can't promise. Is that what it's called? The Sonic racing game. I remember it as Sonic Tag Team Racing, but I might be corrected. Sonic Team Racing. Team Sonic Racing. There it is. I've played this video game. I don't remember what it's called. Team Sonic Racing tomorrow night. We'll also, as I just found out minutes before we went on for Cup of Jones, that Pokemon will be talking about something tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And so that's always perfectly timed. We did reactions a couple weeks ago to the Joker trailer from Smash Brothers. And so it'll be fun to have everybody there to share about what is not Sword and Shield, because I guess that's next week. I'm just finding these things out. I got up and literally just came straight over, couple spritzes up the nose. Let's do Cup of Jones. But that is tomorrow night for a normally scheduled 6 p.m. group stream, twitch.tv/EasyAllies. I played Blood and Truth, which is a new VR game coming exclusively to PlayStation VR. And thanks to Sony for the access, the review access, as Sony likes to provide, in only the way that they can. I saw that Amanda was going to be out of town this weekend, and I was like, hey, I have a feeling that game is not very long, and I was right. And so I'm like, I think that's something I can knock out in a weekend. And so I put on my PSVR headset, and I pew-pewed my way through Blood and Truth, and I wrote a script, cut a video. That video is done. I don't know if there might have to make some tweaks to it today, but it's mostly done. And the embargo is tonight at 9 p.m. And so look forward to that. Blood's new show title, Blood and Truth. I've thought about Bloodworth like the entire time. Yeah, it's kind of fun to do more reviews. I think Dragon Quest Builders 2 is going to be my last big review, maybe ever. That's like the end of July. I'm like, okay, I don't think there's anything between there and the middle of August that I'm planning on reviewing. So that'll be it. So it's nice to fill in as many reviews as I can. Some other fun games coming to PSVR this month, actually, that I might stream or maybe do another review. We'll see. We have currently booked over 40 appointments for E3. So there are currently over 40 games that we are scheduled to check out. Some of those appointments we are co-oping. Some of those, we're doing together. And then some of those are doing solo. I get more and more excited. The more appointments come in, more games pop up. Then I'm like, oh, right. I forgot that. Company works on that franchise, or that's probably getting a sequel. Yeah. Or, that's going to be available at E3. And so I was excited about one or two things going into it. And then the more and more things pop up like, oh, wait, yes, wait. Yeah, I'll probably. And it's tricky because some appointments are like, we think it's this, but I don't know. So he can just have to be like, yeah, I'm gonna, they're got a game show. Like, I'm gonna take that appointment, Bloodworth. I'm gonna take that appointment. Let's see. Okay, let's see how we do. But and we're not 100% sure how to actually handle this information because I think this is people just focusing on that mic fuzziness. Thank you, Bloodworth, for checking the microphone fuzziness. That's just might be the nature of the beast. Cuppa Jones sounds like it's going to sound for the near future. Some unfortunate news concerning E3. This E3 was hard to get into. We still haven't really gotten into this E3. This is a really frustrating thing as to say on Cuppa Jones and to talk about just in general with running this business because we've been going to E3 for a very long time. I've attended E3 nonstop since the year 2002. And the last 3 years, especially the first couple of being Easy Allies, was a little bit tricky to get into E3. There's always just this kind of jumping and waving that we have to do where we're like, we're Easy Allies. And they're like, Easy Ally? And we're like, we used to be Game Shows. And like, oh, right. Okay, here's a bunch of badges. And I don't know if you know this or if you've been following along with gaming news, but there's like just a big shakeup happening at the ESA. And so a lot of the people that previously worked with us at prior E3s are now gone. And the people that are there don't care about us getting more badges. So we got a very small amount of badges and then reached out again and said, hey, we've been covering this show for 17 years. We are judges. And so we would like to go to appointments. This is not us just going around and, playing games and just having a jolly time. Like we want to work. We want to cover the show. We want to give awards to as many outlets as we possibly can. And more than anything, we just don't want to break the stride of what we've been doing, the coverage that we've been doing. And if that needs to change, that's fine. But there's like not only no communication, but no communication in a kind of like a slap in the face kind of way. Like the correspondence people that we were talking to, like didn't even have names. It was literally just generic E3 emails that were like, nope. And we're like, we're judges. And they're like, nope, these are the amount of badges that you're getting. So I've yet to see, because we're still understanding the ins and outs of how we're going to be getting access, but we're basically buying our way into E3 this year. We're like buying tickets to E3. Which, again, sucks. And I'm sorry. I feel like there is a part of me that feels like I've disappointed our audience somehow because, like, there's just some... And that's a frustrating thing a lot of times when you deal with, how big we are, our metrics, our social reach, like whatever numbers that they're looking at that they don't tell us. And that's what makes it really frustrating and difficult because we don't have a goal. Like, we don't know, like, oh, we haven't hit this point yet. And so game trailers used to be at that point. We just need to get Easy Allies up to that point. We have no idea what it is. Like, they're not like, oh, it's like, they actually, there's a part on one of their websites where they say like, it changes. It's like, well, great. Then like, I guess we'll just keep doing what we're doing and live with disappointment. I don't know. But as I said, we have over 40 E3 appointments. Like, the ESA is the only one that is not interested in, all of us attending E3. Everybody else, every single publisher that is at that show, everybody else is going to be showing games. It's like, yes, Easy Allies, sit down by the fire and we'll talk about Cyberpunk 2077, and so, man, that's frustrating. And that's something that's been kind of gnawing at us for the last month or so, that we haven't really been able to say anything because we're reaching out to everyone we can reach out to. And a lot of our other partners, not to call anybody out, but a lot of people are having the same issue as well. And so, sucks. And I wish I could give you better news. And let me put it this way. I have yet to see what that total price tag is, but there is not a lot. I would pay a pretty penny for E3. E3, I think, is not only really important to me. I think it's really important to the company. I think it's really important to our community. It's certainly a very important year, given that we're in the studio now. And so, Blood says, I have one publisher that literally got every single person in for their demo. Nice. I like that, man. Blood's been doing great. I like that there was one or two appointments. There was one appointment specifically that was like, wait, no, we have to get, there was a small fear that maybe, that person was not going to get to play that game, and made it happen. Blood's doing a lot of really great work. I wish I could do as good of work as Blood is doing on actually getting our butts into the show. But the ESA, in the same breath that they told us we're not able to get in, also said, but you could give us a lot of money. And we're like, yeah, we know. It'd be nice if we could get in on our own merits, almost 2 decades of covering that show. But anyway, sorry to start things off on a sad note, but yeah, and I won't talk about that much. We got to talk about, the expectations you have for E3, the stuff that we're doing, working on E3, getting ready for it. Screw all the registration nonsense. And I guess that's why it's bugging me, because I just want it to be over with so that we can plan. I can focus all of my energy on the show and on making that show really great. So, we have a meeting right after this Cup of Jones, which is why I should wrap this up really quickly, because we got to talk about June. We got to talk about specifically the scheduling. I'm looking forward to mapping out the time in the days immediately preceding the show so we can do tech everything. And, yeah. And a lot of people are saying like, it doesn't matter, and E3's dying. It's like, I don't want E3 to die. I want E3 to stick around forever. E3 is really great. It's really close and really accessible for us, and it's a big deal. And there's a lot of things we miss every year because they're in, Seattle or in the East Coast or Vegas or, San Francisco. And this is just saying, please don't go anywhere. E3, we love you. Please let us in. Let us in. Snowcone Guy, one question, if I may. When can we expect E3 live reactions to be added to the schedule? I kind of need it ASAP to take days off for it. No problem if you don't know who's there yet. It's all day Sunday, all day Monday. All day. Like very early. 10, 9, 8. I think like the Tuesday starts at like something crazy like 7 a.m. because basically just look at every press conference and we start an hour before that. All right, I'm going to snooze before we do business questions. But very soon, sorry. Going up very soon. All right. Cheers. We might be accepting more E3 sponsors. We will be welcoming back Sweet Justice for their sweetest moment that they sponsored us with last year. But I like Heroic Replicas asking that. Like, why, yes, Heroic Replicas. So yeah, no promises, but I will reach out to the group today and see what they think. All right, business questions. Why win? Any thoughts about each ally doing a What I'm Playing Now once in a while ad hoc show that doesn't follow any schedule or format? It could be Patreon exclusive if you don't want to show that kind of stuff on your regular format YouTube channel. I get interested in check out games that some allies mentioned that they are playing for pleasure, not for work, specifically. This show would not comfortably fit into our schedule right now. I think in terms of what we plan to group stream, what we cover on Frame Trap, which is kind of like the main outlet for stuff like this, and what we do for our solo streams. I think what we could translate this into is maybe just doing more solo streams, or maybe doing quicker, specific streams where we show off stuff. People have talked about this before in the past, where if we're reviewing a game right when that review embargo lifts, it'd be nice to like stream it, at that point and have that ally be working, still working on that. Issue is a lot of times that ally is taking a break because sometimes hitting those embargoes is very tiring, and or that ally has moved on to another project, and so they are not able to do that at the time. But yeah, I think that would be streams, because if we did some random show, I wouldn't want to add another show that doesn't follow any schedule or format, because it would become a don't skip, where people are like, why aren't you doing more of those? And it's because nothing's really come up that anybody specifically has the time or interest or energy to work on for that show. Brandon K. Gann, in relation to having guests during E3, I was curious if the day prior or morning of said guest's appearance, will EZA pull questions from the community or patrons for them? I can't remember if EZA did this for guests last year, and also I was wondering if EZA will have a pre-planned topic for their guests, like you did with Kinda Funny on GameSpot stage, about biggest news or best conference, or if it will be evergreen catching up, talking about the show as a whole. I think it's impossible to say that for now, because we don't know what E3 is going to be. So I think specifically once we get into Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and our Friday catch-up show, which Kinda Funny will be joining us for, I just don't know what those are going to be like. Specifically, we're doing the podcast Monday night. We usually do a Tuesday night. We're doing it Monday night this year, just to free up more time, because who knows? We just want that to be a blank slate. So I will take all those things under advisement, but I have no idea. I could see it going both ways. And I actually brought that up to kind of funny. I was like, we can talk about stuff that you liked during the show. You can just kick back and watch us talk about things we didn't have time to cover during the week. We could do... I could see both of those things working. It's just a question of how we're feeling, that day, because then because it's all about what is the most interesting thing? What does our audience really want us to be talking about? What do we want to be talking about? Tuesday night's going to be crazy, y'all. Good stuff booked for Tuesday. Says Daniel Bloodworth in chat. Bloodworth's excited about E3. Xenogod. I wonder if the Allies have ever thought of doing smaller group streams during the week than a big full one once a week, bar anyone being out of town or busy. It's been for me and probably some others to... It's been hard for me, maybe? There might be a word missing there. And probably some others to keep track of what's happening during group streams, if the full room is full, or even if there are more than 5 people in there. Usually there are allies who aren't interested in the game being played and go off track and have a totally different conversation, making the stream difficult to follow. I really enjoyed the Hall of Greats, the GOG streams you guys did a while back, and thought that they were more enjoyable. Why haven't you tested doing this 2 times during a week or so? I know some of this may be because of several things being recorded on Tuesdays, but can't, for example, the cast was on the smaller Tuesday group stream be on the podcast, and having a full ally stream wherever there's a tournament or special stream like Hall of Greats. I definitely think there is a benefit. This is a sentiment, Xenogod. It is a valid sentiment. I think that I see the sentiment way more often that people want to see at least one thing that we're doing, that we're all doing. I think it's nice as like an introduction to Easy Allies, as much as the podcast is in terms of podcasts or just general shows, as opposed to streams. But I think that group stream should be an introduction to all of us. This is the group. This is our group dynamic. Sometimes that group dynamic works really well if we're playing a fighting game. We're all pretty laser focused on that if we're doing a tournament. Obviously, Hall of Greats has its own specific structure, and we all might do, it might be courtroom drama on the group stream, stuff like that. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well, and I think we've hit a point with Easy Allies where we've tried to solve technically as much as we can, because we were first in the garage, and now that we're in the studio, it's like, these lights seem to blink no matter what we do, and we've improved the sound over the years, but or over the last couple months. But sometimes it's just us not being good at it. Sometimes we examined ways to fix the audio on the streaming stage. On the main show stage, and then realized we were just not super great at mic control. I'm extremely loud when I talk into the mic. Kyle is very soft when he talks into the mic. Some people, other allies, need to get better at leaning towards one side of the mic versus the other. And so I think what you're talking about would not necessarily be solved by more streams, but is just a example of us needing to be better and more focused. It's tricky too, because I don't want to correct while stuff like that is happening. I can notice stuff like that happening while it's happening, but I don't want to bring down the energy of the show by being like the parent driving the sedan who's just like, all right, I'll turn this stream around. If you guys in the back don't be quiet and focus on what Damiani's talking about right now, that kind of is like an energy killer a little bit. And so it's tough to balance those things to kind of steer the conversation back focused towards the game without looking like that's what you're doing. But we have thought about this. I mean, we have our 55K goal currently right now is a live guest show, and so that'll fill in the schedule. So I think I'm keeping a slot open for that. So I don't want to have too many things set up that we're going to do. And sometimes even like the Tuesday night group stream will be kind of tricky to pick what game we're going to stream. So if we had like another stream that we were doing, it's a tough guarantee that people will be available, that there's not some event that we'll have to cancel that for, that there's a game that the people that are going to be on it are interested in doing. I imagine the shuffling the schedule between who's going to be on the podcast and who's not going to be is not just something that automatically happens. So like, it's like, oh, you're going to be on Tuesday, then you guys are on Thursday night. It's like, well, I'm reviewing this. I'm not going to be around Thursday night, or I'm going to an event, or if you're streaming that Tuesday night, I want to be there for that. It's like, well, you can't because you're not on the podcast. So you got to be there Thursday night. It's like arbitrarily kind of segmenting the group when, I just think, when we first started, it was really the nature. It was the beginning of our everything. The first thing that we ever did at Easy Allies is we streamed, we turned that Twitch cam on and said, hello, we're Easy Allies as a group. And so it's kind of fun just to gather together and try to recreate that. But there are more things I want to do with our streaming schedule if we're given the time later this year. And while that may not specifically happen, I think it is focused on the direction I would like to go in. Blue, what is the process for finding event-specific sponsors like Sweet Justice during E3 last year, sponsoring Sweetest Moments? Do sponsors reach out to you, and or do you have a list of potential sponsors you invite? Yeah, the reaching out to us versus us reaching out to them is like 95 to 5%. Like every now and then something happens where we might inquire with someone if they're interested in being sponsored, but most of the time people reach out to us. I think that was kind of an organic conversation with Sweet Justice last year. I think it just kind of came up while we were chatting, and we had talked about the possibility of doing that. And believe me, we've talked about sponsoring all sorts of stuff. And there's, for one reason or another, maybe sometimes not the best call, but Sweet Justice again. And again, it naturally came up again where we both kind of reached out to each other at the same time. Come on over, Sweet Justice. Let's talk about some Sweetest Moments. Alexander Zirianoff, hello Brandon or Blood. You've recently spoke about drawbacks of being a Twitch partner, like having to wait a day before uploading your streams on YouTube. So what are the benefits of being a Twitch partner? I made a short list from what I could tell. Basically just more features. A lot of times when things are rolled out in beta form, sometimes they will reach out to partners first to test things or to introduce things to the community. But there are there are expanded abilities that our subscribers get. There's different tiers, although we don't currently have that set up. Blood's dropping a link. I don't know if that's related in chat right now. We can activate bits, which I'm not sure if you can't do unless you're a partner. We get loyalty badges for our community. And it makes us eligible for things that are in beta. The two things that I notice now are game sales via Twitch and merch by Amazon. So those are two things that we get to try out if we get a chance. A lot of times we don't do those things because we want to wait to see if they're cool or not. We don't necessarily want to like jump on a bandwagon and have it not work. Blood is dropping YouTube links all over the place. Look at him go. Snowcone Guy, with the distance of... I just was curious if Blood wanted to expand upon that, if there's anything I missed about Twitch partner benefits. Snowcone Guy, with the distance of several weeks, what are your current reflections on the Mysterious Monster Mash? I don't mean the organization in the background, but purely what was presented on stage. How well does it compare to last year? How will the content of that show influence the content of next year's show? It was a different show. It was really focused, obviously, on mysterious monsters, and so the number one goal was to Twitch partners, how you make money on Twitch and have all the subs, badges, etc. Thanks, Bud. And so it was really focused on that game show. So the show before that was definitely a, variety show. I wanted the pace to flow better. It was a variety show. I want that pace to flow. And one big pace killer, the year 2 show, was that screen just like slowly coming in. And so we were like, let's kill the screen this year. So that was definitely a change from last year that I think helped it, flow a lot better. How will the content of that show influence the content of next year's show? Mildly. Next year's show is going to be very, very, very different from what we did last year. And so it'll influence in the way that I want to do something different. But I don't think there's anything specifically we did. Hopefully next year will be a fun surprise. Cellar Moore. I want to say how impressed I am by the professionalism of EZA's E3 coverage. Oh, thank you. I've been watching reaction videos from various outlets in the lead up to E3, and I'm always blown away by how knowledgeable and well-researched you all are. Sometimes we're not. That's good to hear. Some people get frustrated at us because on the podcast, they're like, stop talking about something you do not understand. So you can only be so well-researched. You think you're well-researched, and then some game comes out, and you're like, ooh, what? You all constantly pick up on small details that others routinely miss. The infamous RE7 reaction's a great example. From seeing the word kitchen at the beginning of the trailer, you recognize that you're seeing an expanded version of a Capcom VR demo, and you're able to narrow down the candidates of what's being shown accordingly. Many times you're able to discern what a game is being shown from things like obscure sound effects, art styles, character animations, or even the distance of the camera from the protagonist. Other times it's due to being up to date on rumors and the going-ons of development studios. That's definitely my weak point. That's something a lot of the allies are much better at than I am. Your passion for games, and even more impressively, your preparedness, really shines through in these moments. It feels like actual coverage instead of just people filming themselves watching stuff. Something I think exemplifies everything I just mentioned is the suits you all wear. I think many find the idea of wearing suits to cover video game press conferences silly or overkill. I say that Easy A, more than anyone else in the industry, justifies those suits. You justify them via your passion, knowledge, preparation, and professionalism, and by providing E3 coverage that is the best in the biz. I didn't really have a question or feedback when I started writing this, but I guess I should ask, given the topic, are you guys going to rock the suits once again this year? If so, I think it would be cool if you could shoot some footage of each ally showing up for E3 to include in the opening segment of your stream. Maybe something like slow-mo of each ally walking into the studio suited up with a lower third. Yeah, we couldn't shoot that like that morning though, because that would be really difficult to then like repurpose that fast and get ready for the stream. Yeah, our dress code for E3 is interesting because it's always fun when we're there on Tuesday nights because now we're not wearing suits anymore. I might bring like a sports coat into the studio and like wear a sports coat while we're on because it's fun to have a coat. It's fun to look nice. Oh, to make it clear, since it seems some people misunderstood, the ESA did approve us for some E3 badges, but didn't think we qualified enough to get everyone we need there. Correct. We just got a small group batch of badges from ESA to get everyone else in the show. We're going to have to pay money. But we were given badges. Thank you, ESA. We did qualify, just not enough at all, even close to get everybody in. So yeah, but the dress code is always up to each individual ally. So I encourage the ally to look as good as they can. I think the suits were born from, I don't know who came up with that, maybe Kyle or something back at GT. But I think at Easy A, I was a big fan of dressing up as much as we can just because we were in my garage and I just wanted it to look as good as it could. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see the suits in the vibe of the suits in the studio. None of us have worn a suit in the studio with the exception of Michael Huber hosting Mysterious Monsters. So that'll be interesting to see how that looks. I thought you'd be wearing the Japanese Shenmue jackets. Maybe we'll wear those on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. Maybe on Friday. Garrett Quincy, have you ever thought about combining the Deus Ex and Dark Souls retro parts into one longer video each and then reposting? This would get you more eyes on each retro as well, and many people would just want to watch them in one go. Seems like an easy way to have your old content you worked so hard on in front of more people. I put it on as a takeaway. Not a bad idea. There'd have to be like a reason to do it. I think there'd have to be like a celebration, like maybe like leading up to a new retro or something where like, remember that retro's this week, so let's go revisit all the other retros. Beaten Down Brian, until the future of Tabletop Escapades has been decided for certain, I think removing it as a goal would be a mistake and potentially sends the wrong message. Not every patron watches Cup of Jones, and if any of those patrons return to the site and suddenly see that Tabletop Escapades has been removed as a goal, it may cause them to think that it has been permanently canceled. I also don't see any real issue with having it remain as a goal, as we currently have and have had other goals which are not necessarily produced monthly. Correct. I think the thing is, it's just always communicated what's going on from, so while you have things like Game Sleuth and retros that we didn't produce once a month, but were still goals, it was not expressed in those goals that we would do it once a month. And so if we were to keep Tabletop Escapades as a goal, then if we weren't maybe planning on doing that, then we would change the wording to something like, we're going to bring back Tabletop Escapades, as soon as we possibly can. We are planning on doing a season 3 if that is what we plan to do. And it's just a matter of communicating it. So we can still keep it as a goal. I just want it to be, I don't know if I necessarily see those people checking our goals every single month. It's gone. I don't know if, I don't know how big that crowd is. So I'm not too worried, but I definitely want it to be transparent. That's like the biggest thing. Dwayne L. This is just a short and most likely a silly question. Yes. But I was wondering and was reminded that Blood does reviews also, watching the observation review. From my understanding, he proofreads all of EZA's reviews and I guess previews. So the question is, who proofreads the proofreader? I do. Thank you very much. It should come as no surprise that Blood is good at writing. And Blood definitely will go back through his work, and Blood, I know when I put VO up, I don't know if he does this for all the other reviews, he probably does, but certainly for his reviews, he listens to the voiceover when that goes live. So when I post in Slack that, hey, I put the VO up for Don or Ian to cut the review. Then Blood will go and listen to it and make sure I didn't pronounced everything correctly and that I didn't skip any words. That there's at least one good take of the stuff that he actually wrote. But there is always that line of defense that I bring to every single review where I go in and then actually read it. Like that is recording voiceover to be edited with / proofreading. So if Blood seriously messed in something, and every now and then I'll let him know, like, I think one of Blood's classic blunders is just using the same word twice, like very close together, or one of my favorite goofs, which is writing a poem, even though you don't realize it. You're a poet, you don't know it. But I'll read a sentence and I'll be like, okay, if you read that, that's okay. But if you hear phonetically somebody actually pronouncing all of those words in a row, you go, well, that sounds ridiculous. So it's fun to, spot stuff like that. Straw Hat Ninja. Easy Livin' will be coming up before we know it. 2 months away. And I was just wondering how you guys decide what games to play. Do all the allies pick a game, or do you just get together as a group and pick the lineup? Would you ever consider letting the patrons pick a game or two from a predetermined list? I think the first Easy Livin' was very structured in terms of like, you bring a game, and then we'll have this game, and we have to have a tournament. And I think last year's we just kind of threw ideas out there. So I think, we just get together as a group and pick the lineup. It's super simple. So we'll probably do that at the end of June when we gather for our meeting for July, just like we're going to gather in a couple of hours and talk about June. There you go. But there usually is, I think the one structure we'll probably stick to is it's always nice to kick off Easy Livin' with the full playthrough. Last year we did Super Mario Sunshine, which was great. And the first year we did Super Mario Sunshine. Last year we did Metal Gear Solid and attempted Resident Evil 3. So it'd be fun to maybe pick a game that we can all do that with. And then it just depends on where we're at. Last year, I know Goonies 2, I played, almost finished, but that was something that I just talked about for a really long time, and I know that I can be pretty behind the times and lazy when it comes to doing my own solo streams outside of this wonderful stream that we do. So there might be something. I've been hungering to do a Lego Dimensions stream, because there's a lot of Lego Dimensions I never checked out. Might be fun to do like Beetlejuice or something, or some beach themed something. We've never played any Dead or Alive game at Easy Livin'. This might be the year to fix that. Cray. I just wanted to comment on the fact that you keep shelving shows, and when asked, it's always the people involved want to do something else or they're figuring it out. That's all well and good, but it feels kind of demoralizing as a patron to hear that the allies aren't interested in doing my favorite shows anymore. What do they want to do? Give me something. Also, when you get questions about other allies' work, maybe could you maybe ask them? Just saying that they're working on something helps. It just seems right now like this early access deal is getting worse all the time. And sure, I can unpledge, but I don't want to. I love you guys, and you'll have my money now and forever. It's just a little frustrating. # bring back betting specials. It's tough because it's like the catch-22 of Easy Allies. It's when you're focusing on the bad part of how this company needs to be structured, and how this company needs to be structured, how it's currently structured. This might change sometime in the future. We might get back to being, a soulless media conglomerate. But right now we are a partnership of 9 people, and those people are all focused on the shows that they are doing. And so it's very rare. E3 is a good example. Like, I know the guys are excited about E3, but E3 is happening, period. Like all the guys are working E3. There's nothing they can do about it. And so it's rare that we have like all hands on deck. Everybody needs to be at this. I don't care if you're enjoying it. You got to show up. Like the meeting today. Like, we're not all like, woo, meetings are the best. But like, we know we have to do it for our business. But when we turn the cameras on and we get in front of the camera, like, I want that always to be something that those allies are, enjoying doing. And I know that I imagine just like Hedonism bot from Futurama, just like, I don't want to shoot a podcast today. Like, sometimes I know that can make us seem like taking all our Patreon dollars and then just like chilling out on bean bags or like, sipping Mai Tais by the pool. And we're just like, I don't feel like doing another season of that show. But it really stems from, it's like when you said they're like, it's demoralizing as a patron to hear that the allies aren't interested in doing my favorite shows anymore. We are interested. We're interested in doing a interesting version of that show. We're interested in having it come back, not because it has to, but because it should. And that's why these shows started in the first place. That's why we started doing Tabletop Escapades, because these guys were really excited about, Ben was excited about DMing. These guys were excited about, joining a party and going on an adventure together. And so I want to make sure that that still is a thing, because it's not only, they're not going to be continuing this with the same characters. Obviously, they want to change it up. How do they change it up? That, all other entertainment shows that you are familiar with get a chance to have, a third of the year to figure that out before they come back with the new season, before, they do the other third of the year, which is producing that show, and then the other third where, the show runs. And so sometimes we do things like reactions we can do at the drop of a hat. Sometimes people will fill in for the podcast, at the very last minute. If Kyle were to go out of town or Kyle was not available on the podcast, we would shoot an episode ahead of time, or like maybe I would post it. Like the Easy Allies podcast is definitely something that has to happen. Like, that's, we do have things like that. Like I'm going to not be doing live episodes of Cup of Jones in August. I will figure something out to be a replacement for that. So there are some shows that we will give you something no matter what happens. Tabletop is definitely different, is definitely a much more elaborate show, as are retrospectives. And so because of how elaborate they are, I think they just fall under different guidelines, and there just needs to be, we ask for a different level of expectation in terms of like what we're going to be producing. Sorry, it's distracted by blood. Further E3 clarification. We're not just buying gamer passes. They have special industry package they offered us. This is also true. Sorry for not giving the specifics. I will now blow my nose inside. So yeah, we are purchasing media badges, basically. And awaiting specifics on how that works. Again, I just still picture Wayne's World walking around. But I hear you that it's a little frustrating. I imagine. I'm not surprised. I know this. I feel this. Okay. Jesse Blue. I have a question about the phrasing you use when referring to embargoes. I've heard you use the term, and though I know what an embargo is, what do you mean exactly when you say, glad I hit that embargo, or stayed up late looking for embargoes, or we just missed that embargo? Do these mean different things? I'm kind of new to the editorial gaming discussion world and would like a little clarification on terminology usage. Blood phrased this perfectly, so I can just read what Blood said. An embargo is basically a hold placed on coverage until a specific time. So if we see a game at a preview meeting or get a review copy, we're restricted from publishing certain information until the exact time the publisher specifies. Each situation can be different as well, so there may be multiple embargoes in place. There may be one date for when we're allowed to acknowledge that we have a game, another date for when we're allowed to stream for an hour or so, and a final date for when we can publish the review. Other times, we're restricted entirely from saying anything about the game until the embargo time. There are multiple reasons behind embargoes, some of which benefit the publisher and play into their strategies, but they also ensure a more level playing field. For instance, if I fly to Europe to see a game, I'll have the time I need to return home, write, and produce a video, rather than trying to compete with someone who can just publish their report while I'm still on a plane. Likewise, reviews are less prone to having the person who finishes fastest get the most views. Yeah, there you go. There's also embargoes, for example, for Judges Week. We went to, it's technically the pre-E3 Critics Tour. I think is officially what it's called. We call it Judges Week. And those embargoes are going to be lifting. Some of those embargoes are actually at E3. So there's some stuff, some hot takes we will have preloaded before E3. Excuse me. All right. Rinny, is everything going to be ready for E3? I don't know. Please tell me you guys are going to test out everything. Nah, switching between the studio and the streaming room, etc. It'll work on an actual stream beforehand, even if it's just testing it out on whoever happens to be in Twitch chat. I think an audience perspective is important to catch things you might not be able to see here. I say this for two reasons. First, because I know E3 season is the best time to snag some new patrons, and I want EZA putting their best foot forward. And second, because frankly, I'm tired of seeing so many gripes about how the studio hasn't changed anything, and I really, really don't want to witness the insufferable level of smugness that will result from this year's E3 coverage being riddled with technical issues. Rinny, the smugness is going to be there. There's nothing you can do about smugness. The smugness is there all the time. At E3, it heightens. You can see it in the, it collects. You can see, you have to wade through the smugness. Yes, we're going to test it. One fun thing about Saturday is our E3 coverage is really going to, quote unquote, begin Sunday morning with that slew of press conferences that day. But Saturday, Easy Play, EA Play starts, and we might have some impressions. We might have some stuff to talk about Saturday night. And so I'm going to bring that up at the meeting today, but we might do like a little pre-E3 stream on Saturday. Might do some tests just to make sure everything is up and running, because like there's not in previous years, it's been fun to kind of hold back on like what our setup looks like, and where the desk is and how we have everything set up. And but this year there's not going to be like, ta-da, the studio. Like it's not going to be a huge surprise what the space looks like. And so I think it definitely behooves us to test that stuff beforehand. So Blood says we may be there Saturday morning for their streams. They're doing Treehouse style streams from the sound of things. So yeah, we're not 100% sure what the best way to cover that's going to be, but we might be doing reactions. We might be doing impressions. We'll see. But Saturday is a good opportunity to test, and then have Sunday be the big thing that people show up for. The Finnish Ally, I think you could do a better job of promoting your main podcast. Like a few other patrons, I feel newcomers might find its length a bit intimidating. It's not very tempting to click a 90-minute YouTube video if you don't know exactly what it is about, which is a shame because they're usually filled with funny moments and great commentary. So, would it be a good idea to drop a 10-minute teaser segment a day or two before releasing the full podcast? Or just once or twice per month? It could be a jolly news segment, a passionate rant about anything in between. Or anything in between. Now, when everybody's talking about Game of Thrones, I can't think of a more perfect example than last week's 8-minute segment, George R.R. Martin and From Software rumor. You might disagree, but I feel that you would be killing two birds with one stone. First, you would be promoting your podcast on YouTube and doing it in an appealing way. Second, you would get your commentary out there sooner. I know being first isn't the most important thing, but I think it matters, especially when it comes to the news stuff. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Game Informer. They do like a trailer for their podcast every week, and I dig it. I think that's cool. It's not a bad idea. We should make the time to do that. I don't really have anything to say about that that's like a bad idea. It's just something that I haven't made the time to do, but I put it in takeaways because it's not a bad idea. What is a bad idea is having this go on for too long, because my cold medicine is clearly... Bjorn or Haraldsvik, what sort of writing software do you guys use when writing scripts? Congratulations to both of you. Will the kid be named Brandon since you keep saying Junior, or is that just an Indiana Jones thing? I mean, Junior is not an Indiana. That's, people call their children Junior, but I guess I got that from Indiana Jones. The kid will not be named Junior. I use Google Drive. I actually swapped recently from my laptop to this PC, and I was like, oh, wait, should I get Word? And Bossman was like, no, just use Google Drive. You idiot. Google Docs. I'm like, oh, right. Done. Dark Pikachu, Mysterious Monsters is an awesome show, and I know it's Huber's and Ian's thing, but is it within the realms of possibility for you to realistically consider the potential possibility of maybe, wherever and whenever, even if it's in the far, far future, producing a special episode in which Huber is not the host, but one of the participants? Yeah, sure. Google Docs and Word. We do also use Word, yeah. Says Bloodworth in chat. Yeah, that's totally a possibility. Just, yeah, far, far future. Many more episodes need to be produced before we even think about giving Huber that possibility. Cheers, everybody. Personal questions coming up. Alex Pisa. John Wick 3 is awesome. If you've seen it, what do you think may happen in the next movie? No idea. I haven't seen it. And I wouldn't say anyway that's spoilers. Come on. James Vest. I come with 3 more movies to ask if they hold up or not. If you have not seen one or all of these movies, it's fine. I figured I would put older superhero movies. Does Superman 78, Flash Gordon 80, and Batman 89 hold up or not? Batman 89 totally holds up, 500%. I think there's some cheesy parts of that movie, but I think it's It has such a style, and it really stands out. There's just not a lot of superhero movies that are like that movie. So yeah, Batman 89 totally holds up. Superman 78 holds up. We'll talk about Flash Gordon in a second. Um, yeah, Superman 78 is weird because it's not a lot like the comics. Like, as much as I love Gene Hackman as Luthor, but it's a zany Luthor, and there's like Otis. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Otis is in the comic. Otis, but he's so funny in that role, and um, I think if there's any sort of like 70s-ness or cheesiness about the 78 Superman, it just is. You have Christopher Reeve and you have John Williams, and those two factors just completely the Superman scene with Lois where he goes to Lois's apartment and she interviews him is one of my favorite comic book scenes ever. Like, that's just one of my favorite scenes of like a human talking to a superhero. And yeah, Uzi says Superman 2 is his best Superman movie. Superman 2 is weird, man. Superman 2 is strange. I used to think that, like, I was like, oh, there's no question, that's it. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, yeah, there's some parts of that to hold up. Oh boy. Wait, no. Oh boy. Flash Gordon is fun. Flash Gordon is obviously not as intense now as it was when it first came out, but Flash Gordon is fun. It does not hold up like those other two. I think actually I like Superman more than Batman, to be honest. As a film, there are some parts of Batman that are kind of rigid and goofy, where the first like 20, 30 minutes, I think there's like a special cut too. There's like a director's cut of Superman 78. I've not seen Krypton, the TV series, and I bailed on Smallville after like 4 seasons. Asbo Zapruder, this week's theme is Stephen Schwartz, which means Godspell, Pippin, Wicked. P.S. I'm the one who sent the kids book from Barnes & Noble from the group stream. The only option was to put a note on one of the gift receipts. The Haunted Mansion book is a part of the series called Disney Park Presents. I thought you'd like it. Those are amazing. Yeah, the Haunted Mansion one blows my mind. Then I'll be like, hey, Junior, Haunted Mansion. Godspell, Pippin, Wicked. Wicked is like, Breaking Bad. It's like, it's the Hamilton before Hamilton. It's just one of those shows that even people that don't like musical theater probably know a little bit about Wicked. And unlike Hamilton, I have seen it, and it was one of those things where I knew all of the words, and Amanda would sing the songs in the shower, and then I finally saw it. It was like, okay, and it kind of fills in the gaps. And I think it's a fun story. I think the thing that's fun about Wicked is it's like a lot of times when they do these, like, this is the real story. I like that Wicked is kind of that, but not. It's like, yeah, this is kind of a prequel to Wizard of Oz, but it doesn't have to be. It can just be your own, another dimension of this world or its own story. Kind of like Gotham, the TV show. It's like, you could say it's a prequel to Batman, but it's really its own weird story. And fun. It's just, Wicked's not the kind of show that I would listen to over and over and over again because, Book of Mormon I listened to a lot because it was funny, but like a lot of these shows are just kind of big, blockbuster Hollywood style Broadway shows, which I appreciate and really like to go see. I like to buy a ticket and sit down and have a snack and watch a good Broadway musical, but not necessarily something I'm going to listen to over and over again. Godspell I'm like familiar with. Godspell is a fun show. I never did it. I never saw it. I've seen like I think I've done like a scene or two or something from maybe like a musical theater competition or something from Godspell, but it's a fun show. I just know a lot more about Jesus Christ Superstar. That's what I did in high school, and so never really got a chance to like workshop Godspell in any significant way to like remember it. But I know it's a fun show, and I know for some reason you already brought up the Peanuts. The Charlie Brown musical. For some reason, the Charlie Brown musical and Godspell are like not that different for me in my mind. I'm sure that's probably wrong. I'll try not to talk about this for too long, but the other musical that you introduced, Pippin, is one of my favorite musicals of all time. I think Pippin and Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods are probably like my top 3. Pippin is extraordinary, everybody. Pippin's really great. If you get a chance, see if you can dig up an old production of Pippin to watch. I would love to make Pippin a film. I think Pippin would be a really, really good movie. Pippin is about an actual person from history or legend. Like, I don't know, is like just not a very important, character from the sword and shield era of man, and he was the son of a king, and this musical is basically about him wanting to discover what he wants to do in life. It's like kind of like the whole theme of the musical is like, what do I want to be? Like, what's if you're determined to have a good life and to be a great person, what's the best way to do that? And obviously there's no good answer to that question, and maybe that's what all art is about. But is this about Scottie Pippen or The Hobbit? Neither, asks chat and YouTube. And there is a group of performers that are the players, and there is a leader among them called the leading player, and they have several ideas about what Pippin should do with his life. And so it's almost like they are putting on this production, and this actor, this character, this guy's playing Pippin is kind of dragged along with everybody. And so it's a very seductive show, and it's a very fun show because it covers a lot of things, relationships and war and having kids and siblings and parents choosing one child over the other child, and having just expectations in life, and what are the finest things that you can get. But it would be so much fun to do as a movie because there are a lot of jokes in terms of how the show itself is presented. And so there's a lot of pace jokes. The leading player really seems in control of the whole show. It seems like he's kind of, making all of it happen. And so it'd be really interesting to cast somebody who could really, have a fun time with that role in a film, and then give them all sorts of special effects, not just for the sake of looking pretty, but special effects for the sake of actually telling the story and giving power to this character. It's fun to think about moments in Pippin the Broadway show and how that would translate to a film. Not be like, oh, no, we're making a show. Like, no, we're making a movie. Like, this is Pippin the movie. You can go see Pippin the play, but this leading player is a filmmaker, and this is specifically the movie that he's trying to make. And the music is really great and really fun. And there's a number that's all about sex. So it's great. It's fun. It's a fun show. Evan Donuts. I remember going to my wife's first sonogram and being explained that the small white sphere was a baby, and then asking, okay, so what's that second dot? And the nurse asking if twins ran in the family. Jump ahead 5 years, and our favorite holiday, Halloween, has become even better because it means we could project ourselves onto the twins with over-the-top Halloween costumes. They are getting to the age now where they are unfortunately starting to make their own decisions as far as costumes go. But so far, we've been able to do Calvin and Hobbes, Axl Rose and Slash, Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and Mario and Link. Do you have a dream Halloween costume for the baby and or the family as a whole that you just can't wait to experience? No, I gotta be honest, not really. Yeah, nothing jumps out at me. I'm sorry. I love these, and if anybody's curious, if you go to patreon.com/easyallies, of course, if you are a patron, if you're watching this, in the comments, Evan Donuts actually, posted videos of all of these costume arrangements. I'm sure Amanda will probably have an idea before me, and I would imagine it's probably going to be Harry Potter related. Oh man, I would love to go as Thomas and Martha. Oh, that'd be so great to like have him. This is so terrible. Give him a little speech bubble, a little baby speech bubble that says, no! And then dress him up in a little suit. And then Amanda's got like the pearls and have like the pearls be broken. And she'll have like, like the hat, and I'll be in a suit, bullet holes in both of us. And so like the picture that we take are like Amanda and I on the ground, like, and then the baby's just sitting there in the middle with a little speech bubble that says, no. See, this is why I don't think about this stuff, because this is where my mind goes. It's not a good thing. Andrew Burt, thoughts on the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood trailers? Did they have anything that exemplified what you like or don't like to see in trailers for movies and games? Yeah, there's 2 trailers so far. One for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The second trailer I thought was okay. The second trailer is unfortunate because now it's like, now we kind of got to tell you the plot, and so you can see that it means to do that and isn't necessarily being more of a fun. I think the first trailer was a little more fun and out there. Yeah, I think the reason why I like that first trailer a lot is because it's all over the place. There's so much imagery, and it's not really spoiling specifically what's going on. There's a lot of things. Didn't realize this until the second trailer that you see Charles Manson in that. I didn't realize that actor was. Now you look at it now, it's like, of course, but like when he waves and the guy waves by the truck, that's Charlie. And so I like how much they throw out at you, and that the moments that they pick don't necessarily spoil any specific moments. You just get a little taste of Bruce Lee, a little taste of some like fun music videos that Leo does. And I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it looks it's interesting because it's like, normally I'm not a fan of those movies because it's like, this moment in time where there were these famous people and these fake famous people. And it's like, but they didn't know those fake famous people. Tarantino does that. It's like Inglourious Bastards. They're like, this didn't happen. And I'm like, well, all right, but you care about it. It's like, well, I don't really care about it if it didn't happen. And they're like, but it airs around it, this is not the way the war ended. Like, well, okay. Morgan Mohala. Kyle brought up the awkwardness of the God of War sex minigames and got a mixed reaction from the audience. Is there room for mature conversations within Easy A content? Sure, accidentally, most of all. I think it would be a great thing because I enjoy popular media, but I feel it often lacks weight and importance. Perhaps by having balanced conversations and simultaneously engaging with the audience, Easy A could address some real-world issues that arise in the realm of video games. Conversely, if you choose to avoid this potential minefield entirely, I don't think anyone would blame you. Your thoughts? My thoughts are probably obviously represented by the type of content that we do. I mean, that's, again, we're not trying to appease a boss somewhere. We're not beholden to someone else to produce the type of content that we do. We do it because that's what we want to do. And so we talk about the things that we want to talk about. I certainly don't like the idea of having a show that's like, now it's time to talk about the serious stuff, because what if a week goes by and we're like, there's just not a lot to talk about. And so now we are forcing ourselves to be edgy, and now you're only tuning into. So now we have a show where it's just like, man, we really don't read these YouTube comments because this is where it just gets everybody angry. Every now and then something comes up that we feel is important for us to talk about. We have to make that decision as a group. It's why those things don't come up a lot, because a lot of the allies are not necessarily in agreement. There's like, I don't feel like talking about that on the podcast, or I don't feel like covering that. Having a show specifically for it, I think, is just inviting attention to have people that aren't necessarily fans of Easy Allies come in to our community and start conversations all over the place that aren't necessarily created within the interest of actually discussing issues, but more just like lighting fires. Kick, due to my notice, but we still, every now and then we talk about stuff like that. Every now and then something comes up that we deem as important, and we think we'll have an interesting conversation. We think you will benefit from hearing what we have to say about that issue. A lot of times we're like, that thing sucks. That's all we would really say. Kick, due to my notice period and my new job start date not quite meeting, I'm going to have 2 weeks with NAF all to do. Days Gone or Rage 2. I'm currently playing Rage 2. I access the world faster in Rage 2. So that's why I'm enjoying Rage 2, because and now I'm doing this activity. Now I'm doing this activity. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm going across this part of the map. I don't care about Rage 2 at all. At all. I don't care about any of the characters. I don't care about the ending of the game. I'm not looking forward to that big boss fight with General Cross. Like, I just like driving around in my car, jumping out of places, securing them, seeing that spot be grayed out on the map, and then moving on to the next spot. Days Gone actually has, and I know I saw Sean Bolan actually from Game Attack the other day just go at Days Gone's story. I like Days Gone's story. I thought it was told really well. Deacon is a very interesting protagonist that can be very frustrating sometimes, but like, Days Gone kind of brought me a similar joy of going out into the world and exploring things, but also had the story to boot. So if you don't care about story and you prefer first-person shooters to third-person shooters, then you might want to spend time with Rage 2. But knowing nothing about you, I would lean towards Days Gone. But they're about equal for me as far as like what they were, the risks they took in an open world game. Oh man, we are coming at possibly the shortest episode of Cup of Jones ever produced. Red Sky, which Super Mario Maker 2 editions are you most excited to try when the game releases? I'm not that focused on what I see. unpreparedness. I am not prepared for this answer. I have not seen that direct, so I don't know all of the little tidbits that are coming. Are there any level ideas you already have in mind after watching the latest direct? No. I'm also wondering how well creating levels will work in docked versus handheld mode. Do you think using a controller in solo co-op design mode will be good enough, or will purchasing a stylus for handheld mode be essential for creating levels? Not essential. I think it's just a convenience thing. I think you will easily be able to build stuff because everything's block based in that game. So I think it'd be pretty straightforward to do that. But yeah, I'm not. But it's always easiest to build with the stylus. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I hear there's going to be more of a story, and that's actually what. I mean, we're getting near the end of this Cup of Jones, so I'll just give you my hot take nobody wants. This is a hot take that I'm completely going to reserve for Cup of Jones because nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear me ragging on Super Mario Maker when Super Mario Maker was amazing. I reviewed Super Mario Maker and I gave it an 8. Which might seem cruel because that game obviously was, a zeitgeist in and of itself, and so many people were obsessed with it, and it, sales were so well, and streaming was so intense, and everybody was downloading levels. But I wanted more. I played that game, and I was like, I don't even know if I need a story, but like, there's no guided campaign of anything. Like, there's no. And like every game does that. Little Big Planet, Disney Infinity, like every game that had some kind of building component was like, play this thing first, and then you'll know how to build stuff. And the playing of that thing will introduce you to these elements as well. The way they introduced elements was barbaric. The way that they, Super Mario Maker to me feels like Dream's early access now. It's just like, here are the tools, you make the stuff. And I know that there is things that Nintendo built, like there is stuff that they constructed. It was just presented in a way that had much less of a, like a satisfying progression, like every Mario game I've ever played. So I was really surprised that Mario Maker kind of relied mostly on just like, go build, like we do, we're not really going to do a lot of that stuff on our end. So it sounds like it's a lot more structured in Mario 2. So where everyone is talking, or in Mario Maker 2. So when everyone's talking about how great that mode is, when you like look over at me on the group screens and you see me go, yeah, that's why. Because I'm like, first game should have had that. In my opinion, I would have scored the game much higher, or as high as many of my colleagues did. Because I was like, what you can do in this game is great. But it's also, and the other thing too is like Little Big Planet, Disney Infinity, like you can make all sorts of different genres of games, and you can make all sorts of different crazy stuff. And a lot of this is so unique. It's like, I've never built anything like this. Where the Mario levels is like, everyone's like, wow, how'd they do this? And it's like, well, they took the materials that they had already created, So it's like, how much work did they really do on this? Again, my stupid hot take on Super Mario Maker, but so that's what I'm looking forward to. That's Mario Maker 2 being more like what I thought Mario Maker 1 was going to be like, but that's it. Jones better play that Star Wars game in Dreams tomorrow. Is it playable? I don't know. Before someone gets it taken down. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when I see a lot of articles about Dreams levels on Kotaku and Polygon, like they're not available. This is someone like put up a YouTube video and that's what they're linking, but it's not actually something that they've uploaded yet. Probably for that reason. Happy gaming. With our final question for this episode of Cup of Jones. While a little under the radar, this summer we'll see the release of a retro gaming console called the Polymega. It's a console developed by developers from Insomniac, Bluepoint Games, and other big-name studios. With it, you'll be able to play and catalog your physical collection of games from a bunch of older systems, including the PlayStation, Saturn, TurboGrafx-16, NES, and Super NES, Genesis, and more, upscaling them to 1080p. It uses a modular console design with attachment pieces that are all sold separately to play each respective console. This console also encourages building up your personal physical collection legally, as you're unable to save downloaded ROMs to your SD card and need the physical game to be able to back it up. My question is about the historical appeal of this sort of hardware versus something like the Super Nintendo or PlayStation Classic. While the Polymega would allow a collector like myself to build their library of systems they own and want to own, is it simply more appealing from a consumer perspective to have a box that has games already installed, even if it's not necessarily legally expandable? I personally admire the ability to venture into a game dude somewhere and pick up something I've never heard of, not just the top 20 games for the system someone picked out to come in the box. But I can also see how this could be intimidating and overwhelming for someone who just wants the most known games. What are your thoughts? I think both of these products are going to find their audience. And I think the benefits are pretty straightforward. Yeah, I don't know how, I mean, this is the first time I've actually heard of the Polymega. That information might have been thrown at me and it went in one ear, not the other. But this sounds cool and sounds like what I want. I want all publishers to do this. I'm surprised. I know that it wouldn't sell and I know it'd be a dumb business decision. If I was the head of Sony and I brought this up at a group, like I'd be laughed out of the boardroom. But I think there should be a system that plays PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 3 discs. That might be the PlayStation 5. I don't know. But it'd be neat to have a Sony console that I can play anything that PlayStation's ever released on. Maybe it's not the current gen. Maybe it can't do that, but it can do those other things. Because, yeah, I've been wanting this for a really long time. The idea of like, I still have the game. It still functions. And if I can back it up in some way that's legal, I would want to do that. So hats off to this team for producing this. I just think the desires that I have to, revisit the last 40 years of gaming that I've done in my life, then that's available to me as a consumer, or hopefully we will get to that point. Whereas I don't, if you're really interested in that core preservation, I don't think something like a Super Nintendo or PlayStation Classic interests you, because you probably have those games already and you probably have a way to play them. I think the classic stuff, like the Genesis Classic, I'm probably going to check out, but for me, that's great. Not from a preservation standpoint, but I didn't play a lot of those Genesis games. I don't have a deep history with the Genesis. And so it's going to be fun to play a collection of really any games. Like if the Sega deems these are the most viable to be put in a classic, or they are the stuff that they want to be known most for what the Genesis was, like whatever reasons go into them picking that catalog. It's exciting for me to get the opportunity to go back and play those, not because I've been dying to preserve those games, but because like, what a fun opportunity. I can just drop a 100 or two and not only get something that I can play, but get something that just aesthetically is fun. It's just kind of fun to look over and see a tiny Super Nintendo or a tiny Genesis. So, I think we'll need to determine who will be on the showcase at the meeting this afternoon. Yes, the community showcase for next month, because some of the schedules for some of the allies were up in the air. So I think I have an ally picked out, but we will see if they're available. To throw a little business right at the end there. Yeah, the community showcase. And I need to put up that post. Yep. We'll figure that out today, and I'll put up that post as soon as humanly possible for the showcase, everybody. Today's takeaways: package the multi-part retros into one video and repost, ? And consider posting a teaser segment to promote the podcast every week. Really good suggestions. Boom. An hour and 13 minutes. Cheers, everybody. That was a little rushed. Thankfully, I'm sniffling a lot less now, but you never know when this my allergies are going to come storming back. But so yeah, we talked about Easy Living, but obviously there'll be more E3 details. I would have loved to get that promo up during the month of May, but we will get that promo up as soon as possible, letting you know what to expect from our E3 coverage. And thank you for the questions. Thank you for the comments. Again, I'll be back next Monday. We'll do this Cup of Jones thing again. And if there's anything more specifically you would like to know, leave a question on this post, the video post, not the audio post. And we'll talk about all that stuff. How we doing? No Troop cameo today? Troop's out of town. Ha ha ha! Troop's out of town. It's all me today. Cheers, everybody.